Now we're going to talk our last bit about Chapter 13, and we're going to look at sort of a how-to, in really general terms, how to begin this architectural design process. I want to go back to that idea that architecture is art. So the steps in here sound like maybe they're easy, but they're not. And they would be based on your experience and maybe get easier with experience, but they're definitely not easy. So this starts about page 267 of your text if you want to refer to some more detail in there. So the idea is that the author recommends a series of steps to do. The first is to place the system into its context. That is to define the different entities that the software interacts with and see what sort of interaction is required there. So if we take a look at this page from 267 here, this gives us a generic idea of what an architectural context diagram might look like. We have a series of different pieces. We have superordinate systems. Those are things that use the thing that we're developing as part of some higher level task. We have subordinate systems, things that our system uses that provide data or processing and we need in order to get our work done. Peer level systems, that would be over here, systems that interact on a peer-to-peer basis with our system, things that either produce or consume information for us. And then finally, actors, who are entities, people, or devices that interact with our system. And if I look at the next page, 269, it has that diagram redone for the Safe Home product. So our target system is the security function of the Safe Home product. It's a subordinate to the entire Safe Home product and to an internet-based security system. It's superordinate to the sensors that it's going to access. That's a peer with the surveillance function, so that's a different part of the Safe Home system. And the pieces that interact with it are the homeowner and the control panel. Okay, so that's first, trying to figure out what are all the different systems that interact with the system that we're defining. Then you define what are called the archetypes. And an archetype is an abstraction that represents one element of system behavior. So it may be a class, it may be a package or a subsystem of some sort, but then we would break that down into classes as we go further. So page 269 talks about defining archetypes there. So here are the different archetypes for the security function that the author came up with. The nodes, so that would be like your sensors and alarm bells. Detectors, so that's sort of an abstraction for the nodes. Indicators is an abstraction that represents output mechanisms. And controller is the thing that allows us to arm or disarm a different node. Okay, so once we have the archetypes done, then we would try to iteratively refine the archetypes into their components, and that's where the text goes to page 270 and shows you how that would be done. So the text starts here, and I'll let you read that at your own pace. But up here we have our UML class diagram showing how those archetypes might be refined into specific classes that are related via this UML class diagram. So in this situation, we have a detector is a node, indicator is a node, and controller has a node, okay? So it's composed. So it's not an inheritance relationship, but rather a composition. In other words, the controller has nodes in it that it uses or it pays attention to, there we go, to either detect or indicate some problem with our security. Okay, so I know this is given pretty short shrift by myself, but there are a whole bunch of different pieces that we might talk about here, and really you could have an entire class about this. We just wanted to give you an idea of the generic process.